My golden child sister, who I helped start a business, now thinks she's superior to me, and my mom supported her. Until they realized I hadn't signed the final documents yet. Now they. Hey Reddit, I 28 female have always been the black sheep in my family. My mom has made it painfully obvious that my sister 30 female is her favorite. Growing up, everything revolved around my sister, her achievements, her struggles, her needs, her dreams. She was always the star of the show, the one who could do no wrong. Every milestone she hit was celebrated with fanfare, while mine barely got a mention. For example, when she got her first A+ in school, my mom threw her a small party and invited the whole family to celebrate. When I got straight A's the following year, my mom casually mentioned it in passing, almost like an afterthought. It wasn't that she didn't care at all, it just felt like my successes were always overshadowed by my sister's mere existence. If my sister struggled with something, the whole household would come to a standstill to make sure she was okay. Once, she failed a math test, and my mom immediately hired a private tutor and spent hours sitting with her to help her study. When I failed the same test a year later, I was scolded for not trying hard enough and told to figure it out on my own. I was just there, the quiet one, the one who didn't need much attention, the one who was expected to fend for herself. And I was okay with it for the most part because I thought family was about support and love, even if it wasn't always equal. I convinced myself that I didn't need the same level of attention or care because that was just how things were. I thought that by staying in the background, by not rocking the boat, I was being a good daughter. I thought that if I kept helping out, supporting my sister, and doing what was expected of me, I would eventually earn the same level of love and respect. But deep down, a part of me always felt like I was just waiting for something that was never going to come. Fast forward to 2 years ago, my sister came up with this brilliant idea for a business, but had no clue where to start. She approached me, the family's so-called failure, because I had actual experience in the field and a knack for research. She didn't even try to butter me up or hide the fact that she was out of her depth. Instead, she came to me with this entitled attitude, expecting me to drop everything and help her, and honestly, I did. I poured my heart and soul into helping her build that business from scratch. I created the business plan from the ground up, researched competitors, and figured out ways we could set her apart. I helped secure the perfect location, negotiated with vendors, and even designed the branding and marketing strategies. I worked late nights, skipped weekends, and drained so much of my own time and energy into making sure this would succeed. It was exhausting, but I believed in her, or maybe I just wanted to prove my worth to her and my mom. I wanted to show them that I could do something meaningful, that I wasn't just the black sheep they always dismissed. For a while, it felt good to see her dream come to life and know I was a huge part of that. Here's the kicker. My name was on all the legal paperwork as a co-owner because, legally and morally, I had earned it. I contributed so much to the foundational work that even my sister had no choice but to acknowledge it. However, when it came time to finalize the ownership structure, I held off on signing the transfer documents for my share of the business. It wasn't out of malice, I just hadn't decided if I wanted to stay involved long term. At the time, I didn't think it was a big deal. I figured we were family, and that they wouldn't make a big fuss about it. A year into the business, things were going better than any of us expected. Sales were up, word of mouth was spreading, and my sister was basking in the glow of her newfound success. But with success came arrogance. My sister's head grew too big for her shoulders, and she started rewriting the narrative of how the business came to be. Suddenly, she was the mastermind behind everything. She started acting like I was some unpaid intern who'd done nothing more than run a few errands for her. She made snide comments about how I'd finally found something useful to do and how I should be grateful to her for letting me be involved. She even had the audacity to say that she'd succeeded despite my help, not because of it. And my mom, oh, she ate it all up with a spoon. Every family gathering turned into a brag fest about my sister's brilliance, her hard work, and her unstoppable drive. Meanwhile, I was either ignored or openly mocked. If I tried to chime in with anything about my contributions, I'd get shut down with comments like, "Oh, you helped, but this is really your sister's achievement," or "Why don't you focus on figuring out your own life instead of riding her coattails?" The worst part was that my mom seemed to take pleasure in my humiliation. She'd make backhanded remarks about how I was lucky my sister was willing to carry me, or that I should use this opportunity to learn from someone who actually knows what they're doing. It felt like I was back in high school, living in my sister's shadow, with no one willing to see me for what I had truly done. But the thing that hurt the most, my sister, the person I had bent over backward to support, had no problem tearing me down in front of everyone. It was like she'd completely forgotten all the late nights we spent planning, all the hours I poured into making her dream a reality. I wasn't just invisible to them, I was disposable. The final straw was when my mom told me to my face that I wasn't worth anything and that I should just be thankful I got to be part of my sister's rise to success. We were sitting in the middle of a family dinner when she said it, completely unprovoked. It wasn't even part of an argument, just a casual statement, as if she was commenting on the weather. I remember the way she said it, with this dismissive tone, like it was an undeniable fact. "You should really be grateful," she said, setting her fork down and looking at me like I was a child being scolded. "Your sister didn't have to include you at all, you know? She's worked so hard to get to where she is, and honestly, you're lucky she even let you be involved." Before I could even respond, my sister chimed in with a smug laugh and said, "Exactly. I mean, not everyone can be a leader. Some people are just better off following." She said it so casually, like she was doing me a favor by pointing out my supposed place in life. I felt my stomach drop. I wanted to say something to defend myself, but the words got caught in my throat. The two people who were supposed to love and support me the most had just invalidated everything I had done, everything I had worked so hard for, in a matter of seconds. And the worst part, they didn't even seem to realize how cruel they were being, or worse, they didn't care. It hurt more than I'd like to admit. In that moment, I felt small, insignificant, and utterly alone. All the years I had spent trying to prove myself to them, all the sacrifices I had made to support my sister, suddenly felt like a waste. They didn't see me as a person who had contributed to her success. They saw me as an accessory, a stepping stone they could walk over to get where they wanted to be. I excused myself from the table shortly after that, pretending I had something urgent to do. But really, I just needed to get out of there before I broke down in front of them. I cried in my car for what felt like hours, replaying their words over and over in my head. For the first time, I realized just how little they valued me, and it crushed me. That moment was a turning point for me. It wasn't just about the business anymore. It was about years of being overlooked, dismissed, and treated like I didn't matter. I knew then that something had to change, and for the first time in my life, I started thinking about what it would mean to put myself first instead of constantly chasing their approval. So I decided to step back. I stopped helping with the business and focused on my own life. I didn't make a big announcement or anything. I just quietly stopped answering late-night calls about marketing ideas, stopped stepping in to fix last-minute problems, and stopped offering advice when she clearly didn't value it. At first, my sister didn't seem to notice. She was too busy enjoying her success to even realize I was no longer involved. That's when the cracks started showing. My sister, who never really paid attention to the logistics, started making bad decisions, really bad decisions. She overstocked inventory without doing proper market analysis, resulting in thousands of dollars of unsold products sitting in storage. She signed terrible supplier contracts, agreeing to higher costs and longer terms because she didn't bother to read the fine print. Worst of all, she burned bridges with clients and vendors by being rude, dismissive, and overly demanding. The truth was, my sister never actually understood how the business ran. From the start, she had been more focused on the image of being a successful entrepreneur rather than the actual work it required. While I was up late crunching numbers and researching strategies, she was busy scrolling through Instagram, planning photo shoots, and booking vacations to celebrate her achievements. She treated the business like a cash cow rather than a responsibility. As soon as money started coming in, she blew it on branded handbags, luxury spa days, and weekend getaways to show off to her friends. She spent more time posing for social media posts in front of her new car than she did actually learning how to manage her finances or maintain client relationships. Whenever I tried to bring up serious matters like budget constraints or market trends, she would either brush me off or act like I was being too negative. "You worrying too much," she'd say with a wave of her hand. "Everything's going great." Relax a little. I think she genuinely believed that as long as she looked successful, the business would magically keep thriving. But once I stepped back, the reality of her incompetence started to catch up with her. Without me handling the logistics and problem solving, things spiraled out of control. Orders got delayed because she forgot to follow up with suppliers. Customer complaints piled up because she didn't understand how to resolve them. Marketing campaigns flopped because she didn't know how to strategize or target the right audience. And the money, it was bleeding out of the business faster than she could make it. She had no idea how to track expenses, balance the budget, or reinvest in the company. All she knew was how to spend, and suddenly, there was nothing left to spend. The business that I had worked so hard to help build was falling apart, and my sister was in over her head. For the first time, she couldn't just throw money at a problem or post a glamorous photo to make it go away. She had no clue how to fix any of it because she never bothered to learn how to run the business in the first place. When they finally came to me, asking for help, I calmly reminded them that I wasn't obligated to do anything since I wasn't officially part of the business anymore. I kept my tone polite but firm, making it clear that their choices both in how they run the business and how they treated me had consequences. The moment I said no, the guilt trips began. They tried pulling the family card, as if that would magically erase everything they'd done to me. "You should want to help because we're blood," my mom said, her voice dripping with condescension. "After everything we'd been through as a family, you're really going to just turn your back on us?" But blood didn't matter when they were tearing me down, so why should it matter now? My sister chimed in, her tone switching between anger and desperation. "You're being petty," she said. "We're family. Families help each other, no matter what. I would have done it for you." That one almost made me laugh out loud. She wouldn't even lend me a kind word when I was struggling, let alone step in to save me if the roles were reversed. Then it got worse. They went to a lawyer to try and make changes to the business structure, thinking they could cut me out completely and take full control. But that backfired spectacularly when the lawyer informed them that the final ownership transfer documents were never signed. Legally, I still own half of the business. When my sister and mom realized this, they panicked. And I mean full-blown meltdown. The calls and texts started almost immediately, flooding my phone day and night. At first, they tried to downplay their previous behavior, acting like nothing had ever happened. "Oh, you know we didn't mean those things," my mom said in one voicemail. "We were just under a lot of stress back then. Let's put it behind us and move forward together, as a family." When I didn't respond, the apologies became more dramatic. My mom called me sobbing, saying she didn't mean the things she said about me being worthless. "I was just stressed," she cried. "I didn't realize how much you actually did for the business. You're the only one who can fix this, sweetie. Please, don't let your sister's dream fall apart." And my sister, she suddenly decided that my contributions were invaluable. "You're so good at this stuff," she said in one of her texts, dripping with fake sweetness. "I should have appreciated you more. I'm really sorry if I hurt your feelings." I'll even split the profits with you fairly if you help me fix this. The audacity of it all. Now she wanted to acknowledge my work, now that she was neck-deep in her own mess. When I still didn't respond, they amped up the guilt trip. My mom sent long, emotional messages about how I was tearing the family apart by refusing to help. She painted herself as the victim, saying it was breaking her heart to see her daughters fighting like this. My sister, on the other hand, went from apologetic to angry. "You're being selfish," she texted one night. "You're really going to sit there and let everything fall apart when you could fix it in a heartbeat. What kind of person does that?" They even roped in other family members who started calling me to plead their case. "Your mom's really upset," one cousin said. "She's been crying nonstop. Do you really want to put her through this?" Another aunt tried to frame it as a moral obligation. "You've always been the mature one. Be the bigger person and help your sister out. She's learning her lesson." But here's the thing, they weren't sorry about how they treated me. They were sorry because they needed me. They weren't apologizing out of genuine remorse. They were panicking because their golden child's perfect little empire was crumbling, and I was their last hope. It was manipulative, infuriating, and frankly, pathetic. For now, I've ignored their pleas. I'm taking my time to think about what's best for me for once, instead of rushing to fix something for people who don't value me. Honestly, I'm torn. On one hand, I poured so much effort into building this business from the ground up that it feels like a part of me. At one point, I genuinely wanted it to succeed, not just for my sister, but for the sense of accomplishment we could have shared. But then I remember how they treated me like I was disposable, insignificant, and only good for being used. Their toxic behavior has left such a bad taste in my mouth that it's hard to justify stepping in now, especially since they only seem sorry because they need me. I keep asking myself, do I really owe them anything after everything they've done? Part of me is leaning towards selling my share of the business to an outside party and washing my hands of it entirely. It would give me closure, financial compensation for my work, and the freedom to finally focus on myself without being dragged into their drama. On the other hand, there's a small voice in my head whispering guilt, reminding me that I believed in this business once and that maybe, just maybe, I should try to save it. But here's the thing, I'm not sure I want to save it. Helping them now feels like rewarding their entitlement and arrogance, and I can't shake the fear that they just turn around and treat me the same way once everything was fixed. What would you do in my situation? Should I step in and help them out of this mess, sell my share, or just let them sink and deal with the consequences of their own actions? Some of you commented, "You boundary-esque, absolutely sell your share and walk away." They've shown you who they are, believe them. You don't owe them anything after the way they treated you. Take the money and invest in something that's actually yours, where you can reap the full rewards of your hard work. You Patyan proud, honestly, I'd let them sink. They were more than happy to stomp all over you and dismiss your contributions when things were good. Now that they're desperate, they want you to swoop in like some savior. Nope, actions have consequences, and it's time they learned that the hard way. You golden child six. If you really want to be petty, sell your share to a competitor. They deserve the wake-up call, but seriously, don't help them. They didn't appreciate you when you were there, and they won't appreciate you now. Protect your peace and let them deal with the fallout. You tough-livasis, do not feel guilty. They made their bed, and now they can lie in it. You went above and beyond for them, and they spat in your face. Selling your share is the smartest move. You'll get something out of it, and you won't have to deal with their toxicity anymore. You loyal to self, I'd honestly sell your share, but only to someone who understands the business and has no intention of letting them run it into the ground again. That way, the business you worked so hard on might survive, but you don't have to lift a finger. Win-win. You Jester for drama, I'm petty enough that I'd let them sink. TBH. They thought they could do it without you, so let them try. Maybe then they'll realize how much you actually did for them. You forgive a button worked. If you do decide to help them, make sure you put everything in writing this time and demand full credit for your contributions. Personally, I wouldn't, but if you feel guilty, at least protect yourself. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up. Thank you for all the comments and advice. To clarify, I'm leaning towards selling my share. I'll update you all once I decide. Update. I've made my decision. After a lot of thought, a few sleepless nights, and reading the comments you all left, I decided to sell my share of the business and wash my hands of it. I won't lie, it wasn't an easy choice. I got a fair price for my share, enough to make me feel like I'm walking away with something that acknowledges the work I put in, but it's also enough to let me breathe easy and start fresh. The deal was straightforward, no drama. I made sure the transfer was clean, and I set my boundaries. I'm out. The fallout came quickly. Once the deal was finalized, I got the texts and calls from both my sister and my mom. They were livid. My mom's first text said, "You really did this to your family. How could you just walk away and leave us in this mess? This isn't what family does." My sister was even worse. "I can't believe you're leaving me to pick up the pieces after everything I've done for you," she snapped in one of her angry texts. "You're just going to leave me hanging like this? I should have never trusted you." They both started playing the victim card, making me out to be the selfish one who couldn't even support family when they needed it most. My mom even went as far as to say I wasn't really family if I couldn't stand by them when they were struggling. But the icing on the cake? My sister had the nerve to tell me I was ruining her life. She said I was throwing away the opportunity to make something great out of this. It was all about her success. As usual, never once did she acknowledge the role I played in helping her get there in the first place. I wasn't surprised by their reactions, but it still stung. It hurt to hear them lash out, especially when they'd never once acknowledged how much I sacrificed for them. But the anger quickly turned into relief. I finally felt like I was doing something for me instead of just cleaning up their mess. What's interesting is that after I sold my share, the business continued to struggle. The changes I warned them about didn't get fixed, and things got worse. The brand image suffered, orders got delayed, and some clients dropped off entirely. My sister's attempts to fix everything without understanding the operational side of things only made things messier. I've been hearing through the family grapevine that they're trying to convince other relatives that I abandoned them, but at this point, I don't care. I'm living my life now, focusing on my own goals, and for the first time in years, I'm actually at peace. I know some of you said I should have kept a small piece of the business just for leverage, but honestly, I'm glad I didn't. The emotional weight I've lifted is worth more than any financial gain. I'm starting a new chapter, and while the family drama still lingers, I'm learning how to keep my boundaries firm. Thanks again for all the support. It made a world of difference in helping me make this decision.